This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
The Los Angeles Rams were supposed to absolutely suck in 2023. If we look back on it, they were missing their top receiver because of injury, they traded away their top corner, and their quarterback was old.
Cooper Kupp ruled out of this week's matchup against the Seahawks, limited to just 9 games last season with an ankle injury. This season dealing with a hamstring injury, injured himself back on August the 1st in training camp, did not play at all in the preseason.
Breaking news into the HQ, the Miami Dolphins are acquiring all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey from the LA Rams. In return, they get a third-round pick this year and tight end Hunter Long.
The Rams, they didn't care what everybody thought they were supposed to do though. They pulled themselves together and became a solid playoff team, establishing a style of play that makes them one of the scariest teams in football coming into 2024. And now, after exceeding expectations in 2023 and having bolstered the ranks this offseason, let's talk about why nobody wants to play the Rams in 2024. Now, if we go back to 2023, the Rams started out about as mediocre as you could, with Jalen Ramsey traded to the Dolphins and Cooper Kupp starting the year with a hamstring injury. 2 pillars of the offense and defense were vacant. Luckily, an incredible rookie class and some key adjustments down the stretch helped the team go from 3-6 at their bye week to 10-7 with a playoff berth. On the defensive side of the ball, Kobe Turner, a defensive tackle from Wake Forest, stepped up as an apprentice to Aaron Donald.
Kobe. Hey, this is Les Snead, Los Angeles Rams.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if we draft you, want to come play for us?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, man, then we're going to do it.
Leading the D-line in total tackles. Fellow third-rounder Byron Young from Tennessee also earned a starting spot as a linebacker and posted 61 tackles with 2 forced fumbles.
7th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The Los Angeles Rams select Byron Young, linebacker, Tennessee.
And as their defensive picks began to kind of flourish and become their own, the offensive picks that they made really stole the show.
Hey, Puka.
Oh.
You doing all right?
Doing good. Life is good.
Well, here's what I want to say. What if we draft you with the 43rd pick here in the 5th round? That make your day a little better?
That would make my day great. That would be amazing.
All right, then.
Now in the 5th round, the Rams selected Puka Nacua, a wide receiver from BYU who had slipped down the board due to a questionable injury history. While that concern was still present, Nacua took full advantage of the injury to Cooper Kupp and led the Rams in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns while showing off blazing speed and amazing route running. Alongside Nacua, there was an incredible emergence of running back Kyren Williams. While not a true rookie, the Rams' 5th rounder from 2022 felt like a new recruit, having missed a chunk of his rookie season with injury. Once he was given like a true starting role though and actually took over most of the carries for the running back position of this team, he became one of the best rushing threats in football. Those developing weapons, alongside an upgraded offensive line that kept Matthew Stafford upright for the most part, led the Rams to an unexpected playoff appearance. And although they were beaten by the Lions in the wildcard round, the future looks incredibly bright for this team. And down the stretch in 2023, we saw what this team could actually look like when they are at full strength. They won 7 of their last 8 games, including their last 4 in a row, before looking more than competent in the playoffs. That alone is enough to put their NFC rivals on notice for 2024. But when you add in their metric ton of additions that they have made in the offseason, they have the makings of a top 5 offense. Now, going from top to bottom, Matthew Stafford is as healthy as he's going to get. The 36-year-old had a ton of injury concerns last season, but finished the year playing great ball and earned a reworked contract coming into 2024. And honestly, it amazes me that Stafford hasn't been discussed as a top 5 quarterback since joining the Rams in 2020, but he has been excellent when healthy. Last season propelled him into the conversation of being nearly in the top of the league, and he hasn't shown any eagerness to stop playing.
He's absolutely right about the playoff run Matthew Stafford had. He's absolutely right about the fact that this performance has solidified the fact that Matthew Stafford is a future Hall of Famer. There is no denying it, okay?
In terms of physicality, he has a massive arm that is comparable to like Josh Allen, while also having precision on par with guys like Patrick Mahomes. Nobody really gives Stafford his flowers. But the dude is absolutely dangerous, and honestly, he probably would be in the MVP conversation if his wide receivers weren't so famous. Next to Stafford will still be the explosive Kyren Williams, but they also added Blake Corum from Michigan in the draft.
The 2-time Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams select
Blake Corum.
Yes!
Corum led all running backs in college football in touchdowns and was an excellent red zone player. The addition of Corum should take pressure off of Williams, who has had an injury history, although he bounced back well in 2023. He was the surprise back of the NFL last season, dominating the Rams' backfield touches, and he made the absolute most of it, collecting 1,350 total yards and 15 touchdowns. With a little time off and another year of experience now under his belt too, there is no reason why he shouldn't be even better in 2024. As a tandem, there are two backs in LA now who can gash you up the middle or bounce outside and provide a safety valve for Stafford. But now as we move to this receiver room, they honestly need no introduction with how good they are. A fresh start with both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp fully healthy means that they have the best wide receiver tandem in the league. Nacua in particular should flourish with Kupp beside him the whole time. Defenses simply can't afford to double two players at once, so coordinators will have to decide who is going to score on them. And I truly expect Puka to score quite a bit because of this. Below them on the depth chart is the returning veteran Demarcus Robinson, who provided excellent downfield support for Nacua and Kupp, while the tight end duo of Tyler Higbee and the free agent addition of Colby Parkinson serves as a pair of safe middle field targets for Stafford when he's under pressure. And I mean, honestly, tying it all together is something that they really haven't had since they won the Super Bowl in 2021, but that same year they also had amazing offensive line play, and that's exactly what they're going to have this year, I expect. Second-year player Steve Avila, who proved his worth as the top guard in the 2023 draft, is being bumped into center, where all 338 pounds of him will be anchoring an upgraded line. At guard will be the big money free agent Jonah Jackson, signed from the Lions to a 3-year deal, and Kevin Dotson, who was a game wrecker last year for LA after being traded to them by the Steelers just before the start of the season. Dotson got extended in the offseason before the guard market absolutely exploded, keeping him with the team for 2 more years. Another extension recipient was left tackle Alaric Jackson, who won't be the biggest name ever, but was solid covering Stafford's blind side. And as a whole, I mean, this Rams offense is just even better than last season, and they were already one of the only teams able to make defensive powerhouses like the Browns, 49ers, and Ravens actually sweat last year. The biggest overall contributor to the Rams' resurgence has to be head coach Sean McVay. McVay last year had a lot of swords hanging over his head last season, despite being one of the most unfireable coaches in the league. And I mean, after rampant rumors that he would retire after an awful 2022 campaign and a growing narrative that the league was starting to figure him out, McVay went back to the drawing board and reinvented his game plan. And in doing so, he has created a new unstoppable offense. He's based it on running to the inside gaps pretty much every single time and taking advantage of their modern bell cow, Kyren Williams. The Rams were able to create a ton of time for Stafford to throw with this using play action. And I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for Sean McVay's just great mind, honestly, this roster might have just given up another disappointing season this year. All evidence suggests that players absolutely love working with McVay too, and every coach who has spent time with him seems to turn into a mastermind who understands football at an elevated level. But now we have to look at the only real question mark for the Rams coming into 2024, as they had to say goodbye to one of the best defensive players in the history of football, Aaron Donald. Donald was aging, but the player who made the Super Bowl winning play just a few seconds before was still very much inside of him. And I mean, it's fair to say the Rams are going to miss him. And I'm not here to tell you that they're going to be able to replace this just absolute menace and just dog on the defensive line though. However, despite not being able to replace just that incapable human being and dog in Aaron Donald, I am going to talk about how just this defense as a whole is even more well-rounded than they were of last year, I think. Like, I mean, the moves they made this past offseason were incredible. And now, yes, I know that Raheem Morris does sting losing him as he got a promotion to the Falcons' new head coach. But as we've established before, McVay coordinators, they grow on trees, especially under him. They all get either promotions or just end up looking like great coaches down the road. And the man tasked to now learn from McVay and join him in his coaching tree was Chris Shula as the new defensive coordinator. Shula's been with the Rams ever since Sean McVay became the head coach in 2017. He's played multiple roles, including linebacker coach, DBs coach, defensive pass game coordinator, and pass rush coordinator last season. He's also the grandson of the winningest coach in NFL history, Don Shula, and his dad was an NFL coach with the Bengals, coaching especially solid defensively in his blood. Now, Shula won't be alone in his revitalization efforts, though, as the Rams brought in a ton of high-value players to bolster the defense. us. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys know I had to come through for you, so use my sign up link in the description or pinned comment and get a sign up bonus of 125% up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. Starting in the draft, Los Angeles spent their top 2 picks on former teammates Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk from Florida State. The edge rusher and D-tackle tandem were the spearheads of a Florida State defense that nearly made the college football playoff in 2023 with 3 quarterbacks under center. That pair's chemistry and talent will join Kobe Turner and Byron Young to form a brutal young front 7 that ought to scare most quarterbacks and O-lines. In the secondary though, it's a whole new look for the Rams. In free agency, they took a swing, adding Tre'Davious White from the Bills, hoping to get production from the corner who has struggled with injury despite his great athleticism. Other free agents include Cam Curl from the Commanders, Darius Williams who returns to LA after some time with the Jaguars, and John Johnson III making his return to the Rams after 2 seasons in Cleveland. Finally, the Rams drafted DB Cameron Kinches from Miami in the 3rd round of the draft, who was first team All-ACC in 2023 after being an All-American in 2022. All in all though, it's really going to be impossible to say how good this defense is going to be after losing their captain and just Hall of Fame defensive tackle in Aaron Donald. But they did lose Jalen Ramsey as well last season, and they managed to survive just fine. And with the offseason that they have had, and as these guys kind of start to gel, get into training camp, and just form that just camaraderie and unit that they're gonna have, I do expect them to be a pretty scary unit down the road, or at least down the stretch in the season, if they can finally come together as a team. The final question to ask about the Rams though is, how do they stack up against the rest of just the NFC? Even though it's pretty top heavy in the NFC, how do they stack up against those top 3 to 5 teams? And honestly, for me, I'd argue that they're definitely one of those top 5 teams, but they have a brutal division that gives us reason to look even closer. The Rams are tied for the 12th hardest schedule in football while only having a couple of should-be locks 4 wins. Their home and away distribution, however, does make things much more manageable. Most of LA's road games are against rebuilding or young teams that McVay should be able to take advantage of. This includes the Cardinals, Bears, and Patriots. On the other end of the spectrum, most of the Rams' most challenging opponents will come to SoFi Stadium to face them, including the Packers, 49ers, Dolphins, Bills, and Eagles. Looking at individual matchups, I only see a handful of games when the Rams should be underdogs on the road against the Lions, and both games against the 49ers being the main ones. And speaking of the 49ers, if we look at the reigning NFC champs, as of making this video right now, Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams are both missing from training camp, wanting either new contracts or, in Brandon Ayuk's case, possibly to move on from the 49ers. Williams is getting very old for an offensive tackle and wants financial security. When Brock Purdy didn't have Williams last season, he lost 3 games in a row. The Ayuk saga we've all seen, he's been pretty adamant about wanting a trade, as it looks like the 49ers don't want to pay him like the top fringe of a top 10 receiver that he is, and I think they're going to have to cough that money up. On the defensive side, they've suffered heavy losses like Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw in free agency, and Dre Greenlaw and their strong safety will take some time to return to the field after suffering serious injuries last season. I'm not saying the 49ers will be that bad this season, but they shouldn't be favored to win the NFC West so heavily in 2024. As a whole though, as we all know, the NFC, and like I said earlier, is just so top heavy that honestly, I think the Rams should be penciled in for like another wild card spot at the least. The Rams have all the makings of a powerhouse. Sean McVay and GM Les Snead have assembled a roster that works together well while scheming attacks that can beat any team in football. And with the way their schedule has shaken out, they'll need a few good breaks, but they should be firmly in the race for the NFC West title and maybe even the 1 seed in the conference if they really get lucky. And look, in the one and done playoffs, they'll match up well against any team and have a clear path to win the conference and even another ring if they do again get some lucky matchups. Like hell, is it even possible that the Rams might be maybe a Super Bowl contender if they can pull this off? In that, honestly, I think the NFL is either relieved that they don't have to play them or is circling them as their toughest matchup of the season. Either way, the Rams are serious playoff contenders, and the entire NFL is either relieved they don't have to play them or circling them as their toughest matchup of the season. Either way though, your favorite team is probably terrified of the Los Angeles Rams. But I want to know what you guys think. How good do you think the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford are going to be? For me, honestly, I think that they're maybe another 10-win team at the least. They might even win the NFC West if the 49ers do start to fall apart. That's like my crazy prediction of the year, is that the Cardinals don't win the NFC West. I think the Rams probably are. I mean, like, everybody's kind of underrating them. And if they can keep their guys healthy unlike they did last year, this team is going to be scary. But again, I want to know what you guys think. Drop a record prediction down in the comments section below. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.